Okay, 7 o'clock. Margie, are you good to go? Margie Pete's on our Zoom.
Yes, ready to go.
See her right at the moment.
Margie, do you know who I am?
Hi, Eric.
Hi, Margie. Long time. Oh, what's the backstory here? Well, we both worked for the town at one time.
Yeah. Impressive. Okay. All right. Well, welcome. Thanks for coming out this evening to the presentation on the Village of Lima's clean energy choices. My name is Susan Hughes Smith. This is my colleague Ben Freevert. And then we have Margie Pete manning the Zoom. And Melissa Carlson is the other member of our company, which is Roctricity. We are partnered with Jewel Assets. Jewel is an approved administrator of clean energy programs, CCA in particular, that approved by the Public Service Commission. We're their local partner tasked with doing outreach, presentations, education, and customer service. So your community has moved forward trying to implement clean energy programs, and the name of the program that you're affiliated with is called Finger Lakes Community Choice. So if you go to this website, fingerlakescommunitychoice.com, updates will appear at that website. If you're looking for a place to kind of keep tabs on what's happening, you will notice there are 2 other communities that are a part of Finger Lakes Community Choice, Town of Geneva and the Village of Brockport. So when you go to that website, you'll be able to select your village and then see the information that's appropriate to you. I'm sure the information will also continue to get updated on the Village of Lima's website, and then there's also a Facebook page for Finger Lakes Community Choice. So this evening, I'm going to review briefly the reason we are able to implement this program. So a little bit of the background, and that's understanding what community choice aggregation is, the authorization legislation. Then what is community solar exactly? Why these 2 things can combine together, why now we have the opportunity to move this program forward, and what the next steps will be. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail this evening about community choice aggregation itself, just to say that it's a program that is authorized by New York State in 2016. It requires municipalities to pass a local enabling law. The Village of Lima has done that. And it's this law that then is giving the authority for us to move forward with the very innovative community solar program that I'm going to talk about this evening. Okay. So community solar is why we're here. And community solar gives the benefits of rooftop solar to other people who can't afford rooftop solar or who don't have the right type of roof to install it themselves. And what it is it's a field of solar panels, which I'm sure you're familiar with because Lima has a field of solar panels. And then typically what has been happening up to this point is individuals would subscribe to a solar field. And you would get a bill from the solar company, but you would see the savings on your utility bill, and you would be paying less for the solar than you were getting in savings, but it required a credit check. It required signing a contract and a second bill. So you can imagine a lot of people just didn't bother to do that. It was a little bit of a hassle. Saving 5 to 10% over the total electric bill was enough to incentivize many, but not everybody in the community. And so we've been looking for ways, the state has been looking for ways to make it possible for more people to participate more easily. The benefits to us collectively is, of course, economic development in our region and the implementation of more renewable energy, bringing that onto our grid. So it helps contribute to our new law, meeting our new laws of 70% renewable energy by 2030. It shifts our community to renewably generated electricity faster than if we just wait for the state's clean energy standards to kick in. So we can really lead the way at the local level. So everyone is eligible to participate, will be automatically included in this program. People with rooftop solar, or if people have already subscribed to a community solar project, would not be automatically included. Okay, so they are not automatically eligible. But everybody else, residents and small businesses, would be enrolled. So the role of the utility remains unchanged. So National Grid is still in charge of the poles and the wires and the billing. And this is possible now because we're able to use the CCA authority, which says that everybody can be in a program unless they take an action to leave. So the opt-out piece is coming from that piece of legislation or regulation. The village has taken the action to endorse the program, to pass a resolution to participate. And you will know that you have been enrolled because you will get a letter from the village, like on village letterhead. Okay, so it won't cost the village anything to send the letter. That'll be handled by Jewel and Roctricity, but it will be signed by your mayor and it will show the village seal or logo and so forth. Okay. An extra bonus for participating in this project is that the village will get additional funds. One of the challenges that solar developers have in bringing their projects to fruition is acquiring customers. So you can imagine if you're building a solar field, you need someone to invest in your solar field. The investor says, who are you going to sell this energy to? And then the solar developers go around trying to sign people up for their program before they've even been able to build the field. So this has kind of slowed down some of the solar development. Well, by using this opt-out model, what you're saying is you're delivering entire communities into a solar project. And so we expect that to incentivize the development of solar faster because the investors will see, oh, there's ready-made clients here. As a result of the village's willingness to move forward into this innovative project, the village will earn some money from that customer acquisition. So the solar developer will pay Jewel because they're the ones authorized, that has the authority by the state to offer these programs. Jewel will share some of that revenue with the village, approximately $50 per subscription. And so then you'll get a bulk of money that you can use for other projects, hopefully sustainability related. So it's really exciting. This hasn't been done anywhere else in the nation to offer these opt-outs community solar projects. So we're really grateful that the Village of Lima and Brockport are leading the way, and it's a lot for you all to be proud of. It's very exciting. So why we can do this now is because the Public Service Commission has taken an additional step. And that is to tell the utilities that, look, you have to put all the solar information together and give the customers just the final savings. No more two bills, just one bill. So the utility will interface with the solar company. They'll do all the math and people will get the utility bill like they always do. And at the bottom of it, where it says miscellaneous things, there will be language there about CDG value stack credit. That is the official language for community solar savings. And that's, I'm going to say, a negative sign associated with that. Okay, so that's what makes it possible to then go for a community to go opt out on community solar. Nobody needs a credit check. Nobody needs to sign an extra contract. The experience for the community remains unchanged. They're just going to start seeing savings. So it's being initiated in National Grid territory now because National Grid is ready to consolidate the bill. The Public Service Commission has told the rest of the state, all the utilities, that they need to be ready and implement this in 2021, but you all can get a head start, which is great because that means you can access the solar energy that is ready to be turned on. Another additional benefit is that the state is coming out with a new round of grant funding. There's another program called Clean Energy Communities, and Lima is a clean energy community. You had gone through a list of 10 items and did 4 of them and got approved as a clean energy community. So this next round of funding has attached to it more incentives. One of those incentives that will earn you points towards the funding is opt-out community solar. So you will be very well positioned to apply for more grants for Lima to use. Okay. So the Finger Lakes Community Choice Program has 2 features. The town of Geneva is using the CCA program and a community solar program, but in Lima and Brockport, we're moving forward just with the opt-out community solar program at this time. Maybe later when the energy markets are a little more robust, it would make sense to also offer a community choice aggregation program. And if we do, we'll be back to talk to you about that. Both programs help reduce energy costs and reduce emissions from fossil fuels and protect customers. So what happens next is that Roctricity is tasked with conducting public outreach. So the event this evening, there will be another similar meeting in a month. Hopefully we'll get some more articles in the newspaper, more social media, and then you will get a letter, as I mentioned earlier. When we're getting close to launching the program, after the solar fields have been identified and all of the final pricing details have been finalized, so hopefully by December, you will get a letter on village letterhead signed by the mayor explaining all the details. And should you not want to save 10% over your total electric bill, then it will tell you how you can call us and opt out of the program. Don't know why you wouldn't want to save 10%, but it is a choice. So that will be presented to people. You will also get a confirmation from the utility, and hopefully in December, you will start seeing that negative dollars at the bottom of your utility bill. Question?
Just to clarify.
Yeah.
So once this is initiated, the whole village is going into the program.
Correct.
Regardless. And then it's a matter of each individual household that either stays in or opts out.
Correct.
So they're already going to be pulled or taken into it, and then they either opt out or stay.
So the way that the rules are written is we have to do 60 days of outreach. We'll finalize details at that time with the solar developers. The letter goes out, and there will be a period of time, I think it's between 2 weeks and a month, where people will be able to reply. And if they don't want to participate, then they will actually never be entered into the program at all.
That is my clarification that we're collectively going into the program and then you opt out.
Correct. That's right. That's exactly right. Right. It would seem silly to opt out, but you know, if people really are opposed to solar, maybe they will. Yeah. So yeah, every eligible account will be receiving credits. And the only accounts that should not be receiving credits are ones that are already signed up with community solar or have rooftop solar. They're just ineligible by state law to do it twice. Yep. Exactly. Other questions? Yeah, please.
Yeah, so my wife kind of jumped the gun on this in 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
She signed up through National Grid to get wind power.
Sure.
So, but I understand it's a month-to-month thing and we can change it. So does that mean we are excluded
No, not at all. So the question was, if you're signed up through National Grid for a program like for wind power,
Right.
if that's a different program.
Okay.
Yeah, typically that's like an ESCO purchase,
Right.
and
And that,
you
of
can
course,
change
we're
that.
paying, we're paying more every month than we were for our utilities. We'd much rather do this where we're actually paying less every month.
Right, exactly.
Yes, I signed up for the wind power like 15 years ago,
Right,
long time ago.
yes. And I'm so grateful to you for doing that.
Good on you.
So what you're saying then is basically will automatically be added into this, even
That's-
though we've got that?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Does
Yeah.
that conflict in all though? Will we have to stop doing the wind power?
It
or-
doesn't conflict because it's just simply a different pathway of purchasing renewable energy, and you're allowed to do both. And in
Okay.
fact, if we do ever the community choice aggregation program, that's affecting the default wholesale electric
Okay.
choice, and that's what you're doing with the catch the wind type program.
Something like that. no, that's,
Right, exactly. And
And
so that's kind of a wholesale price.
And in fact, your wind program, to the extent you're having some effect on greenhouse gas emissions,
Right.
that is in addition to what would happen in that regard relative to community solar. So you're having a significant, an even more significant impact there.
So this would not be supplying 100% of my power then, correct?
No, because your power is still coming from the grid, right? And so we're making purchases of renewable energy, but your electrons coming from wherever the closest electron source was.
I'm sorry, I should rephrase that question.
Mhm.
I am, with your program,
Yep.
we're paying for
Mhm.
100% solar, correct?
That's the goal.
Okay.
That's the goal. It's a little bit tricky. And so the
Yeah.
the solar expert over there is like,
Okay.
because the solar developer basically is looking at your bill and your total energy expense, and then they're selling to National Grid dollars of solar energy.
Right.
And then National Grid charges you 90% of that. But they have to do that in advance of you using the energy.
Gotcha.
So they're
So you know
estimating.
how much, right?
Right,
So
and
as
that,
long as we're consistent and use pretty much the same power that was always used, then we're good.
exactly. And that's why we, in our presentations, we're always like 8 to 10%.
Yeah.
We're aiming for 10%, but we can't control
Sure.
your use and we can't control the sun's productivity
Right.
or how cloudy it is that month.
And
So-
I am curious too, is there room for that changing a month? Can you look at the bill and see if you suddenly are starting to use more power that you would actually get more credit?
That's a good question.
I
Do you know?
just recently swapped out my gas water heater for electric, so.
Oh, good
my
timing.
electric bill, well, yeah, it's gonna go up higher,
Yeah.
but I wanna make sure it's covered. And we also just bought an electric car, so we're
Oh,
gonna be
great.
using a lot more electricity
Great,
because we knew about this coming. So
Excellent.
That was kind of in preparation for that.
good timing.
Yeah.
Do you
So
wanna address
yes, that can be adjusted if your
Yeah, okay.
usage changes. And the way that's done is that the developer who owns the solar array
Right.
has to notify the utility of that change. Now, they probably won't do that once the program's underway unless we ask them to. So if that happens, we'll probably need to work together, or you may have an avenue to simply contact the developer and say, hey,
Well,
look, my
since we've
usage
already
is.
switched- Since we've already started using more electricity for those two reasons, I'm assuming that's gonna be part of.
Yeah.
my-
For
my
sure.
estimate already.
Yeah.
For sure.
We're already there, so yeah.
But they're gonna look at your previous full 1 year.
Yeah. But it's a good question because
Yeah.
people will have some variability in their usage. And I went through and modified all the lights in my house and actually reduced the consumption by quite a bit. So if you make changes like that and your consumption, changes, it can be, they can adjust the allocation for your particular consumption.
Margie, were you able to hear that question and answer?
Probably muted.
Margie, could you unmute?
I heard the answer of okay, but not the question completely.
Yeah, so the question was, will the system of credits adjust if you make changes at home where you're starting to use more electricity, like you buy an electric car or something? And Ben's answer was basically that yes, it does. The system will adjust. You might want to encourage it with a phone call. but it should work out that it adjusts over time.
Thank you.
Sure.
And a question.
Yeah, another
I
question.
don't quite understand what you're saying there.
Mm.
Because your usage is your usage. You either use more 1 month or less 1 month. What's the adjustment thing?
If you make significant changes at home, like you put in an air source heat pump, or you buy an electric car and your usage starts to rise,
Right.
you'll have a new average over time, right? So if the solar company is estimating your usage from your historic usage from the previous year,
What are they gonna do with the historic versus the new?
Well, they're tasked with submitting to the utility an allocation request. So they're requesting that you take a certain percentage of the solar array's production.
Okay.
And they have to do that in advance of when that happens, like 2 months in advance. And they, so when the program starts, they'll do that for all of the customers. They'll look at what your historic usage has been, and they'll submit that allocation request. But they don't, just as a matter of monthly practice, revisit that every month. That's, it's a fair bit of effort for them. So they don't look at everybody's account monthly or even frequently. But if your usage does change and you know it has changed and you'd like to take advantage of that in some way, purchasing an electric vehicle is a great example, because then your consumption is going to go up. And by notifying them and asking them to adjust your allocation, you could save more. Now, the example I use where I changed to all LEDs throughout my house and reduced my consumption, well, you could notify them, but you're actually probably better off not. Right? So, I'm not telling you not to, but.
I guess I just didn't understand that allocation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is,
It's like budgeting.
yeah.
To send it back.
And this is the
Exactly.
tip of the iceberg in
Right.
terms of how.
Yeah, don't get him going.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The credit that you get on your bill is based on historic use.
Yes.
And that's what's gonna go on. All right, now, let's take the credits off. My national grid bill, my energy, electrical supply charge, that's still gonna be the same.
Yeah,
So my delivery, all that is priced by National Grid, and I pay that. And that will go up or down based on my usage. That's gonna react immediately based on my needs.
Yeah, that's right.
right.
But then the solar credits aren't really tied to the exact thing I'm using. It's historical averages that are placed in that are gonna subtract.
That's
Correct. Correct.
That's correct.
So if the average is $80 a month.
Yeah.
And then you use 100 1 month and 60 the next month, your credit's going to be not as good when it's 100, and it's going to be better when it's 60. Is that?
The
Well,
credit
well,
should be
actually-
about the same, right?
The credit should be
Yeah.
about the same, well, about the same from month to month.
Right.
The thing that varies in that example is the amount of energy that the solar array produces, right? So as you head into the winter, it will start producing less, and your percentage for that allocation report that I mentioned, that's a percentage of the solar array's output. So as its output drops, your credit will also drop.
Yeah, yeah, it is not as simple as one might want it to be.
Right.
The credit will vary.
So
Yeah.
about an average over the years, 10%.
That's
right.
So in
Yes.
the winter, I might see 6%, but in the summer, I might see 12%.
Yes.
And it evens out.
That's the target. The target is 10% over the course of the year. Now there's the sort of the natural variability in everybody's usage that we know about, which is air conditioning in the summertime. So you're, generally people's consumption. So if you don't have it, then, and generally also people use a little bit more electricity. If there's no air conditioning, you probably notice usage a bit higher in the wintertime because you have the lights and things on a bit more.
So can we build the array in Arizona?
No, actually, not if you wanted to work in this program. So that is, while the array is not in your village necessarily, it has to be in the utility load zone, the service territory.
I think maybe there was another question.
One other question? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
You refer back to village all the time,
Yes,
not the town, village.
right. Correct. So the Village of Lima has taken the action to pass the local law and to move forward with this program. We would happily do the same thing for the town, but the town would need to do those same steps. They would need to pass this local law called the CCA enabling legislation. They would need to hire dual assets because they're the only administrator that currently is permitted to offer this opt-out solar program. And pass a resolution to do the opt-out solar. And then they could participate. So we're happy to do that and help facilitate that. And some phone calls from folks like you to the town would probably help move it along.
I followed this program on back here since
Nice.
its inception, but there was a lot of, nobody knew anything about it.
Mm.
So they asked a specific person about it.
Mhm.
I understood it's in the town, but it was a village project,
Aha.
am I right?
So you're talking about the municipal array.
Right out back here, whatever you call it,
This is
Mhm.
a village
Mhm.
project.
but it's in the town.
This is village owned property. It is in the town of Lima, but the village,
Oh, the village owns the
village
ambulance?
taxpayers own this.
I mean, the whole village technically is in the town, right?
But they're
But
distinctly,
it's-
they're
but they're
distinctly different,
distinct.
yes.
Outside
But
of
they're
the-
distinct
Yeah.
property, yeah.
So I live in the town.
Yeah.
Down on one side, so I'm not even,
You would not be able to automatically participate in this, right?
But you
But if
can,
you want to, you could call your town supervisor
yes, you
and get
can
the ball
influence your-
moving.
I tried that
Ah.
when this was going on.
Oh, really?
And I got nothing but, I wouldn't even,
That's unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that.
really,
We-
really bad taste in my mouth. And this is why I came today, just to educate myself a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah, well,
It's
we're
not
glad
too-
you
it's not too
came.
late. I mean, they can always do it. And,
Right. Mhm.
I have reached out to the town on 2 occasions and said, we are going forward with this.
Mhm.
Why don't you, consider doing it? And they pretty much just said, well, we'll think about it.
and this is, I mean, there's a new element here that might be worth mentioning to them in that it's a guaranteed savings.
Yeah, right.
That,
Oh, they didn't have that before?
Well,
not on an
Well,
opt-out.
the solar is a guaranteed savings.
Okay.
Yeah, the other program is not a guarantee savings, is an
But
expected.
this is.
This is guaranteed
Okay.
because of the way the state structures the,
Gotcha.
So the deal has gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
And, the billing has gotten a lot simpler.
Mhm.
So there's no explaining the 2 bills or anything like that.
That requires state legislation to make that happen.
Public Service Commission.
regulation.
Regulations.
Yes.
Mhm.
This goes back even before the solar projects with Time Warner
Oh, yeah.
and the franchise fee
Mm.
on my bill.
Oh, gosh.
And I pursued that about 9, 10 years ago
Mm.
through the Public Service Commission,
Mm.
through the FCC,
Oh, wow.
and it took 18 months. But Time Warner at the time wound up giving people, subscribers, a credit
Mm.
because just because there's a couple poles going down my road,
Mhm.
the town had their hand out.
Yeah.
And when I looked at the town budget, there was nowhere where it showed revenue coming in
Huh?
to the point of $88,000
Wow.
in franchises.
Wow. Yeah.
And now it's been reduced for about 3 years, and now we got two town management. It's going right back up again.
Huh. Interesting.
Not for me, it represents
Right.
spectrum,
Right, right, right.
and this is what's happened.
Yeah.
Everybody had a hand in it.
Yeah. Sorry to hear of your frustration. Other questions, Tom?
I'm from the town of Canisius,
Mhm.
and I came tonight to get a sense of what's happening here. And I would very much like to interest our town in a similar project.
Great.
I don't really know how receptive they would be.
Okay.
My thought for not only for Canisius, but for the town of Lima and other towns would be to see the benefits
Mhm.
of the program, say after 6 months or a year.
Sure.
And at that point, the publicity could go out as to how beneficial it is.
Right.
I'm thinking that might convince folks if they can see, you know, an actual benefit.
Some testimonials.
Testimonials,
Right,
that's
right.
You know, the proof that here it is.
It's a great, it's a great
Not just
suggestion.
individual people, but,
Yeah.
but the village itself saying, look at what we've got, look at what our customers have.
Right.
So my thought is that once this is initiated, that good records be kept
Mhm.
as to what average bills were before,
Ah,
what new bills are, how, sending out questionnaires to the folks who are receiving this benefit,
Mm.
to see if they're satisfied with it.
mhm.
You know, you can create a decent questionnaire that can enable people to write their opinions,
Uh-huh.
and it can be done in a simple way that can be done by computer. You know,
Sure.
In
Thanks
fact,
for
we're,
those suggestions, Tony.
yeah, and in fact, we're tasked with reporting back to the Public Service Commission about how these programs work. So we're, you know, we're gathering a lot of that kind of data along the way.
Perfect. Perfect. Now, you mentioned that Geneva, is the town of Geneva, not the city.
Correct.
They have a different kind of program. They've moved farther along, is what you're saying?
No, they're in NICEAG territory
Oh.
as opposed to National Grid, and they started earlier, and so they were able to start with the community choice aggregation program where you're changing the default electric supply.
Mhm.
But then they could only do opt-in solar where people subscribed.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, but they hope to do the opt-out as soon as NICEAG's ready.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. for
Sure,
clarifying.
absolutely.
So is this the only program in the national grid area?
National Grid is the first utility in the state of New York or in the country really ready to move forward with this.
But the Rockport Lima?
Rockport and
is
Lima,
it?
they're gonna be number one, and
You're talking
then,
about the entire country?
Only program
The
like
whole
that in the
United States
country.
of America, we're the
Correct.
first- We're the first one.
yes,
See, that's big news.
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
huge.
what we need to
Exciting
hear
for a
that.
small
Yeah, I
town.
think we
Yeah.
have,
Here's the other
Sue,
thing, other
I think
than
we have the news article.
bragging
Oh, yeah.
about stuff like that, being first in some of these things. There's a new grant program coming out with New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. They're gonna have that implement, that Sue said, an add-on to the clean energy community. And, you know, last time when they did clean energy communities for our size, if you were like the first 3 or 4 communities that reached the benchmark, you got $40,000. And then once that was gone, and we did it, you got $5,000. So they're looking at a program where, you know, where if you have this opt-out community solar, and you get in there, and we get that done, which we are gonna have it done before anybody else, we're looking at somewhere probably between $80,000 and $100,000 grant coming along. Wow, just for doing this and going on in front of it.
And that money gets used for what, more renewables, anything?
That'll be money coming into the general fund of the Village of Lima.
That could be used for anything.
Well, I think-
Usually NYSERDA has stipulations
Okay,
that
yeah,
you
I know,
have
we're-
to
We're not gonna.
submit a
We're
proposal.
probably going to have, you know, do it for more sustainability and more.
Like EV,
EV
charging
chargers,
stations.
So we
something like
got
that.
one, we might put
Sure.
another one in,
Yeah,
or
that's-
something of that nature. We might put battery storage in on our array back here, because the way we get revenue, especially is when we deliver power during peak times in July and August,
Mm,
we get paid about 21 cents a kilowatt hour
wow.
during those, between 2 PM and 6 PM in those months.
But if you don't store it, it's gone.
So if you can deliver it then, because that's when the grid is hungry for it. Because the reason you get paid for that is because National Grid has to have backup power plants at the ready that they pay the capital on 365 days a year and might only fire these things up about 25 times.
Mhm.
But they're sitting there ready and they're expensive to run. Okay? So if you can deliver power and ease up their need to go to these so-called peaker plants, they pay you dearly. And it's not just because they want to, but the Public Service Commission has delegated that. This is the value based on it. So it's a highly regulated thing, this with solar pricing and so forth. But
So you're,
we're gonna be first in line for that anti-CERT fund.
yeah, and your program, to your point, this is exciting, it's first in the nation, is getting picked up by pretty respected journals like Clean Technica. So,
What is the journal?
Clean Technica, yep. And there are several this week, so it is something to be proud of. Yeah,
So-
Eric.
So did, your company's background, did you guys go to Europe and go, what do you guys do?
So
over here?
the four of us, no.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
somehow
Yeah.
consult,
Right. So,
they seem to have it all together. I mean, they're gonna be,
yeah, I won't do justice to dual assets background, but they have been in the energy and energy management field for many years. There are folks in Europe, and the current manager came over from Europe, and they had already implemented some pretty innovative things there.
I know, why
So-
why reinvent the wheel when it's all open?
Mhm.
Okay.
The four of us live here in the U.S.
And you didn't take a field trip over there to check
We
it out,
didn't,
right?
I would be willing to, but we haven't.
Well, we talk with people regularly. We're in
Right.
communication with
Sure.
the Jewel folks that are over there.
What countries are, I'm just
Belgium,
Belgium?
primarily, isn't she
Oh,
Belgium?
yeah, she's in Belgium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I have this evening. If there aren't any other questions, no chats from Zoom?
Sue, you want to just mention about the website is still being updated to include the Brockport and Lima information?
Sure, thanks, Margie. Yeah, so if you went to the Finger Lakes Community Choice website tonight, you won't find Lima. We're in the process of getting that updated. Should be coming along hopefully by next week. So just something to be aware of.
Well, Sue, when that is up there, let me know, and that'll be a prompt for me to put the link on our village.
Absolutely, sounds good, sounds good.
I understand you're having a second meeting on October 20th?
I
Will it be the
believe
same
that's
format?
right. It'll be the same format, the same presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, and then when that letter goes out, when we have the solar secure and ready to implement, then there will be a new presentation with those details. Same information that's in the letter, essentially.
So one other question on this field out back.
Oh,
Is there any data that's been released for the first year of operation as to what the savings is?
so I don't have anything to do with that field, but maybe John does.
It's been up for about, since January.
That's not what I was told. I was told, late last summer.
It was installed, but there was major delays with National Grid connecting it to the grid. So those solar cells back there were ready to generate power, and they were generating power, it was just going nowhere, sitting there going nowhere.
That's my point.
So, you're right, it was done, the field was essentially done, July 2019. It didn't get the interconnect until like the end of December 2019.
This is not an atypical story.
Why is that? Why would they delay if they need the power center?
Inertia.
I can't speak to them, but, they wanted to route, the connection right across the front yard here. And, we told them, no, we would like you to stay on the side of the property.
Shouldn't it all been on the plan right up front?
For sure.
Well, it was in our plan, but I don't know.
It's all underground.
But the fact is, National Grid had to put up 2 new poles that
Oh,
they
it's not.
didn't want. Okay, so, 2 poles. And that became a major project. But it got done, right? It got done now.
It got done.
And, the savings,
Wanna turn this off?
it's kind of interesting that you asked that because, Like this month, we got about a
Margie, you can
$9,000
end the
credit.
meeting at
We
any
have not
time you
received
want.
a bill yet for
Okay, doing it now.
getting
Thanks so much,
the
Margie.
credits from National Grid. We haven't
Yep.
paid.
Joshua, thank you for attending. Do you,
I've asked a couple times, you guys gonna send us a bill? Because I'm thinking, they don't send one in 2 years and then all of a sudden we're gonna have a giant bill that.
How much was the grant? 201,000 is what mine notes say.
That was part of what went into the construction, I mean, that didn't go